Robert Mueller broke his 2.5-year silence today. Here's what he said. Here was the main part that I think is important that he said.
The first volume of the report details numerous efforts emanating from Russia to influence the election. This volume includes a discussion of the Trump campaign's response to this activity, as well as our conclusion that there was insufficient evidence to charge a broader conspiracy. And in the second volume, the report describes the results and analysis of our obstruction of justice investigation involving the president. The order appointing me special counsel authorized us to investigate actions that could obstruct the investigation. And we conducted that investigation, and we kept the office of the acting attorney general apprised of the progress of our work. And as set forth in the report, after that investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime. The introduction to the volume 2 of our report explains that decision.
So
it explains that under
basically,
long-standing department policy.
Basically, and I tweeted this, and boy, did I get a lot of crap for it. Basically, Robert Mueller just repeated what was in his report. He just said it out loud. So what he said in his report was, if we had an opinion that the president, if we came to a conclusion that the president did not commit a crime, we would say so. Meaning, we did not come to a conclusion that the president did not commit a crime. But everybody is getting so excited. CNN and MSNBC, oh my God, Rachel Maddow's going to pop a blood vessel tonight. Everybody is getting super, super crazy excited that Robert Mueller said out loud, if we had come to a decision that the president did not commit a crime, we would have said so. Well, I already know that. We already know that from the report. And by the way, I'm seeing the comments. I've seen this stuff about Assange. I haven't had time to look into it. I want to look into it more. But there are definitely reports that he's in bad health. So we will look into that. Don't worry about that. So Robert Mueller basically said in person what he said in the report, which is basically, it's up to you, Congress. It's up to you what you want to do. We don't have the evidence that we can't say he didn't commit a crime. And the whole ridiculous thing, and why I don't understand why this isn't the biggest topic of discussion. Dawn Evans, do you think they should impeach Trump? No, I don't. I don't. I'll tell you why. Thank you for the $2, by the way. Why is the topic not about why we even have this statute in the first place, where a sitting president cannot be indicted? Don't we have a system where a president, he or she, is not a king? If they keep saying nobody's above the law, which is BS, by the way, there's two different legal systems in this country. Actually, 3 if you want to count African Americans and Native Americans. There's a legal system for rich people and connected people. There's a legal system for unconnected people. And then there's a legal system for African Americans, Native Americans, and Latinos. So there's 3 legal systems. But when they say nobody's above the law, that's just BS. Powerful, rich people are above the law. Pretty much all the time. But why isn't the discussion, what was the point of this investigation if Mueller could not actually bring any charges by a ridiculous Department of Justice guideline? To me, that's the biggest outrage here. What was the point? Like, if he found clear obstruction of justice that could be charged, it sounds to me he was not actually able to charge it. Even if it was blinking red lights, obstruction of justice, which I'm already on the record saying, I don't think he should be impeached for political reasons, but I really don't, any objective person who read it, he did obstruct justice multiple times. I mean, it's very clear he obstructed justice. People who say, well, you can't how could you obstruct justice when there's nothing to obstruct? There was no crime found as far as collusion or conspiracy. You don't need a crime. You don't need an actual criminal result for obstruction of justice. You need criminal intent. So even if he tried to obstruct justice, regardless of whether there was a crime to obstruct or not, even regardless whether there was a crime to obstruct justice to cover up, just the act of trying is a crime. So the bottom line is this. I don't understand what the point of Robert Mueller's investigation was if him and his army of prosecutors were not allowed to charge Trump with anything. But put that aside. Put that aside. Listen, I do believe in actual rule of law. Okay? I do believe in actual rule of law. I think, honestly, there's much worse things than Trump did that are grounds for impeachment than obstructing justice in the Mueller report. His bans of Muslim people from the country that have been knocked down and time again in the Supreme Court. His administration, putting children in cages and losing children and children dying on their watch. I mean, he's still making money from his real estate company as president and making decisions as president that benefit his business. There's plenty of ways to go if you want to impeach Donald Trump. I don't think this is the worst of it. Him obstructing or trying to get his lawyer, Don McGahn, to fire Robert Mueller. Yeah, it's obstruction of justice and to the letter of law. But impeachment is not a legal thing. Impeachment is not a legal proceeding. Impeachment is a political proceeding. So you have to come to the conclusion. Is this impeachable? Well, if this is impeachable, why isn't all the other illegal things him and his administration have done that I just listed some of them, why haven't we been talking about impeachment for that? You can't have selective impeachment. You can't impeach him for things that politically you think would help you, meaning impeachment proceedings over him obstructing justice on the Mueller report, but not try impeachment for Muslim bans, for children dying at the border, for Stormy Daniel payoffs, for financial crimes in his administration, for him literally making money as the president, violating all sorts of laws in that way. So if you're gonna impeach him, if you're gonna embark on impeachment proceedings, it's kind of, to me, a little suspect that this is the leg you want to stand on for this. His inauguration committee and financial laundering that went on with that. So why I say, listen, I think if I can't give a firm no, we should not impeach Donald Trump, because I can't in one breath say we need to have an actual rule of law in America, and then in the other breath say, but don't try to impeach Donald Trump. He did break the law. He did obstruct justice. But Congress can't do anything about that in a criminal way. Only courts and prosecutors and states can do something about him obstructing justice. And I think the Southern District of New York, who is currently investigating the Trump Foundation, who is currently investigating Trump's real estate companies, the Trump family business, if Trump loses that election, which I don't think he's going to lose it if he's running against Joe Biden, I think he would lose it if he's running against Bernie Sanders, he might immediately have some officials and prosecutors from the Southern District of New York office outside Trump Tower with handcuffs. And I'm not being dramatic. Because I always said, including when I was at the Young Turks, it's not about Russia. It's not about Russia and the Russian boogeyman and he colluded with Russia. That was always a kooky conspiracy theory, and I was proved right. And frankly, Cenk and the Young Turks were proven ridiculous, if we're being honest. They were wrong, and they still to this day refuse to admit they were wrong. Cenk has gone on to say, well, I never pushed the collusion theory. Yeah, he did. I was on a panel with him pushing that Trump's campaign colluded with the Russians. But I digress. Congress can't do anything about him committing a crime because Congress doesn't have the power to put him in jail for that. Congress could only impeach him if he has violated his oath of office and done impeachable things. Now, then you have to look at, well, is it going to work? There was a chance, a small chance, but a chance that Bill Clinton could have ultimately been impeached. There was a chance. There is no chance that Donald Trump would be impeached. Not with Lindsey Graham and the other Republican senators who are like scared little scarecrows, and Donald Trump could literally shoot someone in front of them. You know, Donald Trump says he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Well, Donald Trump could shoot somebody in front of a fellow Republican senator and get away with it. And they'd say, well, we don't agree with him shooting somebody, but, you know, just Trump being Trump. So it's not going to pass. So then the question is not whether we should begin impeachment proceedings, but whether it's worth all of this show and theatrics, which is going to distract from the actual issues that helped elect Trump in the first place. That's what all this is about. I think Trump did wrong. I think he did obstruct justice. I think he should be brought to justice criminally, not just for obstructing justice in the Mueller report, but for money laundering since the 1980s. He didn't build his business legally. He's been dodging taxes and money laundering since the 80s. And the corporate media ignored that when they were covering him and giving him $2 billion worth of free airtime in 2016. If the corporate media would have done its job, he might have not been elected. But they chose never to focus on the money laundering because it was just, the ride was just too nice. The reality show was just too nice. But I think if the Democratic Party suddenly has such principle, and they think, well, we have to do our constitutional duty. You know what? Do your constitutional duty and protect Americans from foreign and domestic terrorists. Because you know who are the domestic terrorists? It's the pharmaceutical companies killing people like the son I just told you about. They're domestic terrorists. The NRA are domestic terrorists. The fossil fuel companies are domestic terrorists. The bankers, to me, are domestic terrorists. Focus on that, because you're not going to be able to actually impeach Donald Trump. So I'm not saying he hasn't done things that deserve impeachment, but we're already, we're at the 1.5 year mark away from the election. You're not going to impeach him because the Republican Senate won't do it. So the question is, do we want the theatrics to make us feel good that they tried? I'd rather beat him in the election.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.